Hello cadets, good morning. My name is Mark Julius Guevara. We discuss and recite today about the requirements before entering enclosed space including PPEs. So let's start. So an enclosed space is defined as a space that has the following characteristics, where is an unsafe oxygen level and or toxic gas or other vapor. They have limited openings for entry and exit, unfavorable natural ventilation, and not designated for continuous worker occupancy, and includes, but is not limited to cargo spaces, double bottoms, fuel tanks, ballast tanks, cargo pump rooms, cargo compressor rooms, copper dams, chain lockers, void spaces, duct kills, inter-barrier spaces, boilers, engine, crankcases, engine submerged air receivers, sewage tanks, and adjacent connected spaces. This list is not exhausted and list should be produced on a ship-by-ship basis to identify enclosed spaces. For source, IMO Resolution A.1050-27 Revised Recommendation for Entering Enclosed Space Aboard Ships 21 of December 2011 International Maritime Organization Regulatory Guidance. What precautions must be taken before entering an enclosed space? The confined space has to be well ventilated before entering, and now time should be allowed to establish a ventilation system to ensure that air containing enough oxygen to sustain life is introduced. Ventilation can either be natural or mechanical using blowers. No entry to the permitted into an enclosed space unless the prescribed enclosed space entry procedures are followed and permit to work issue. This must include a formal risk assessment to identify potential hazards and risk mitigation methods to control them accordingly. So, for enclosed space entry permit, this permit relates to entry into any enclosed space and should be completed by the master or responsible person and by any person entering the space, competent person and attendant. The hazards associated confined spaces include toxic atmosphere. A toxic atmosphere may cause various acute effects, including impairment of judgment, unconsciousness, and death. Also, oxygen deficiency, oxygen enrichment, flammable or explosive atmospheres, flowing liquid or free-flowing solids, excessive and also excessive heat. How do you rescue? If someone from enclosed space, the rescuers entering the enclosed space must wear an SCBA and carry an EEBD and rescue harness for casualty use. They should be in continuous communication with the rescue supervisor who should appraise the master of the events. Personnel should be allocated to relieve or back up the rescue team. Lack of oxygen. The acceptable range of oxygen in an enclosed space is between 19.5 to 23.55%. Oxygen in any compartment can reduce due to manufacture rusting of steels part is the most common one. A pre-entry checklist may include the following. Discuss prior to entry scope of work to be done inside the confined space. And also, permit. Confined space entry permit has been issued. And verification of conditions. And testing results and monitoring, ventilation, isolation, equipment, clothing, tools and personal protective equipment, training, and also standby rescue team. Lastly, also we discussed the important PPEs used on ships. PPEs represent the final link in a pre-planned chain of shipboard safety practices that should provide multiple barriers to separate injury and death. As such, PPEs provide the ultimate barrier that should only engage if all other safety practice barriers have failed. Lastly, we discuss about the personal protective equipment on board ship. Protective clothing. Protective clothing is a coverall which protects the body of the crew member from hazardous substance like hot oil, water, welding spark, and etc. The second one is helmet. The most important part of the human body is the head. It needs utmost protection which is provided by a hard plastic helmet on the ship. Next is safety shoes. Maximum of the internal space of the ship is utilized by cargo and machinery, which is made of hard metal and which make it clumsy for crew to work around. Safety hand gloves. Different types of hand gloves are provided by onboard ships. All these are used in operation wherein it becomes imperative to protect one's hands. Some of the gloves provided are the heat-resistant gloves to work on hot surface, cotton gloves for normal operation, welding gloves for chemical gloves, and etc. Goggles. Goggles. Eyes are the most sensitive part of the human body, and any daily operation on ship, chances are very high for having an eye injury. Protective glasses or goggles are used for the eye protection, whereas welding goggles are used for welding operation, which protect the eyes from the high intensity spark. Next is air map or air plug. Engine rooms of the ship produces 110 to 120 dB of sound, which is very high for human ears. Safety harness. Routine ship operation includes maintenance and painting of high-end elevated surfaces, which require crew members to reach areas that are not easily accessible. Space mask. Working on insulation surface, painting or carbon cleaning involves minor hazardous particles which are harmful for human body if inhaled directly. To avoid this, face masks are provided which act as shield from hazardous particles. Welding shield. Welding shield is a very common operation on board ship for structural repairs. A welder is provided with the welding shield or mask which protect the eyes from coming in direct contact with ultraviolet rays of the spark of the weld. Thank you, cadets, for listening. See you soon.